In 1777, as British troops marched into Philadelphia, they were attacked by a ragtag Continental Army. The famous estate in the middle of that battle was Clifton, and it stands to this day as a reminder of the struggle that took place there, a fight for independence. In the style becoming of Cliveden Estate, I'm preparing potato leek soup, leg of lamb, Cardoon fromage. As Napoleon said, an army marches on his stomach, so join me for a taste of history. This meal today is a tribute to Benjamin Chu, and I'm also making a beautiful, beautiful leg of lamb. Don't get better than that. So the soup is really straightforward. Many times I cook with different kind of shortening, but in this particular recipe I'm using a little bit of schmaltz. This happens to be a pork schmaltz. I have lardons I already pre-cut and blanched a little bit. I have an onion here that I'm going to chop real quick, real coarse. All right. I have my leeks already washed, really good. All you want to use only the white part of the leek. You don't want to use the green part. The white part of the leek is where the flavor is in it. Just a really rough chop, like so. Look at the heat it maintains. Amazing. I have the onions in there. I have the leek in there, the lardons. Now I have some potatoes I already peeled, ready to go, right into the same pot. Okay, next I'm going to do the salt in it. Then comes the important part, and I think the reason I like this soup so much because where I come from, use marjoram in many, many recipes. Marjoram, there isn't an 18th century garden that doesn't grow marjoram. Jefferson grew it, Washington grew it. Matter of fact, Washington even made it as presents, sent it around the country. A little bit in there now. It's sometimes tough to get fresh, but believe it, it doesn't really make a difference. You don't need fresh. You can use dry for the same end results. I got a chicken stock over here. Look at that, it's cooking right there. How beautiful is that? Oh, chicken stock in here. Cooking with those cauldrons is just absolutely so spectacular. It's so hard to believe what we're missing. Here we go. I'm going to do one little taste before I put it on the fire to make sure I have enough salt, and pepper in there. Flavor just comes together, all the goodness. Put this on the fire. And that soup, believe it or not, all it takes about half an hour to cook the potatoes. When the potatoes are done, the soup is done. It's straightforward. We don't have as much heart for soup as they had in the 18th century. This soup, for instance, while it's straightforward and simple, has a really spectacular garnish. And the garnish, which I'm making right now, you can obviously use sandwich bread if you don't have salilan available. What you do is you take the salilan, or it's a sandwich bread, and you cut it into some nice sticks or squares, whatever you really prefer. There's no right nor wrong. The beauty over this, I'm going to cut it like so. You want to take a serrated knife for that so you can cut it and then go like, that's how I like it, just like little sticks like so. Then what's interesting is I toast them. But the way I toast them is I put them in a spider, one of my spider pots, with lard. And all I'm going to do now, with the lard in the spider, croutons right in there. When you do that, the croutons will cook really quick, so you're going to keep a good eye on that. Like I said, the soup will take about, depending about maybe half an hour to possibly 40 minutes until the potatoes are disintegrated. Then all you want to do is leave it a little bit of body, like so, and ladle it in your soup bowl. Oh, flavor is just spectacular. And put in the machiso over it. And potato leek is served. Let me try. It's beautiful. From the garden. Remember marjoram, a magical herb that's in there, comes right through it. Potato leeks, fresh. Croutons on top, lardon is already inside, and it's a beautiful soup. Benjamin Chew was a British loyalist. Before the war ended, his house was the site of a key battle and his loyalties had shifted.
Benjamin Chew was one of the most prominent residents of colonial America. He lived in Philadelphia, and because of his family's close ties to William Penn, Chew enjoyed all the benefits of fine living in the English tradition.
I was the last Chew to live at Cliveden, 9th generation to live in this house. Benjamin Chew was a very prominent jurist. He was William Penn's lawyer, and he was involved in the drafting of the Declaration of Independence, and he was a pretty remarkable man.
The offices where Benjamin Chew would have done most of his work. Above the desk is a gunshot hole that has been preserved by the Chew family since the Battle of Germantown. Obviously, they had the money to have it repaired, but as part of the memory that's associated with the house, this has been preserved along with other artifacts from the battle. Clifton was the summer house of the Chew family. It wasn't until the 1830s that people lived here year-round. One of the things to remember then is that the Battle of Germantown took place here when nobody was in the building.
That's an indentation in the granite of where a cannonball was thrown to the house. And here's another one right here. There are any number of them. We marked all these and they were left. They weren't repaired because they're sort of historical value.
What happened is that the new government of Pennsylvania went to the Continental Congress and asked permission to place all of the old officers of Pennsylvania under house arrest, under the thought that perhaps they might collaborate with the British when the British came to occupy Philadelphia. So after about 4 years out of Philadelphia, Benjamin Chew does move back, and they, in fact, buy back Cliveden. Benjamin Chew eventually gets appointed to be the president of the High Court of Errors and Appeals, and it's like nothing ever happened.
My father turned the house over to the National Trust in 1972, and all of the original furniture that was here from the 1700s is still here. It's all been kept intact, and I'm very proud of that, and the family are all proud of the fact that it's now part of the United States history for the people of this country to enjoy.
Leg of lamb, another festive cut of meat that would have been used for special occasion. The one we're doing today is a beautiful spring lamb. What will happen is we're going to prep it now, and the prepping of the lamb is something very, very important. What we're going to do here is we're going to take the end bone off really quick. I'll show you how it's done. Basically, all we're going to do is we're going to cut quick in here. Now, if you make this at home, you can buy the leg of lamb completely, what you call BRT, boned, rolled, and tight. So you don't have to worry about it. I happen to like it under bone, and you're going to see later why. It's a great more flavor, and also it makes for much better presentations. And this is obviously a beautiful stew meat if you make a lamb curry or curry goat, we're going to be making real soon. Lamb curry, as we know, was a very, very favorite of many of our 18th century compatriots. Lamb was very plentiful, and everybody loved to eat it as well. So now we're going to do, we take the outer skin and just trim it down a little bit. The reason we do that is because we're going to make sure that we be able to penetrate the skin and inserting our lardons and some of the garlic that is going to go in there. 1 second. So we take the excess off, like so. We'll take a small paring knife and we make some insertion into the meat. And then we take garlic, take the entire clove of garlic and just squeeze it under the meat. We'll do this a bunch of times. Have some fat back. that I've cut already in slivers. I have a very unique needle. That's called a larding needle. And I'm entering the larding needle, and I'm going to do a couple of, literally maybe 2 or 3 pieces is all you would need for additional flavor. Do you have to really do it? It depends, but it just gets some additional flavor to it. So the larding needle goes in. All right, when it's on the other side, off it goes. Do one more over here, maybe. Okay. Perfect. I have some herb that I rub on it, very pre-chopped. Some salt. Pepper. Lots of pepper. At this stage, the first step of our leg of lamb is completed. I was going to cook for about 15 to 20 minutes. Then I'll take it out. I put my potato mixture on the bottom, and then the leg of lamb gets finished. So let me put this in here. All right. My leg of lamb is cooking nicely in this fantastic beehive. Now, about 20 minutes in, I'm making the potato-onion mixture that goes on the bottom of this dish. This dish actually is called, has a classical name. It's called boulanger in French, which means baker. And quite frankly, this is a dish that would go in the baker's oven in the end. So all the juices from the lamb will stay in the potato. What I'm doing is I have a spider on the fire. I take schmaltz for that because you want some nice little schmaltz flavor. And I mix schmaltz and butter together for this dish. There we go. Put the onions in there. You just want to, you don't want to cook them, you just want to what I call a planch, a little bit of sweat. Quite frankly, you could almost take it raw altogether and stick it in the fire, it would make no difference. The potatoes I blanched a little bit, and now all I need is pepper and salt, lots of pepper. All right, let it sit for a bit. Now let me get the lamb out of the fire. Oh yeah, spectacular. All right, I'm gonna take the lamb out quick, set it on my cutting board, and now I have the mixture. Put the mixture in. Put the lamb back in it. I'll just make a thyme at the side. Just a little bit of lamb stock or a little bit of chicken stock, just a little, because you want to make sure that the potatoes cook up nice. Back into the fire for about another 20 minutes. When British troops marched into Philadelphia, the residents were scared. They had no idea how difficult life was going to get under British occupation.
At the end of September 1777, as British troops marched into Philadelphia, they took away America's seat of government. Washington and his Continental troops were forced to watch from hideouts around the city. Washington wanted to surprise the British troops, just as he had done in Trenton. On the morning of October 4th, Washington started what he had hoped would be a victorious push to rout the British out of Philadelphia. Word had leaked out, and the British knew the Americans were coming.
The famous Battle of Germantown, as we know, was a very important battle. It's sort of embarrassing that actually my family's house was the source of the American troops being sort of badly beaten in this battle.
The Continental Army advanced and were pushing the British back until the Redcoats wisely decided to place sharpshooters in the fortress-like Cliveden mansion, where an intense battle took place. From their perch on the second floor, the British could easily shoot down at the unprotected Continental Army below. Even though the British were outnumbered and facing cannon fire, they were able to repel the attack. When the Americans tried to negotiate a ceasefire, they were rebuffed.
With those in the house, if you will surrender peacefully, what say you?
Eventually, the Continental Army had to retreat.
They were so badly depleted, Washington's troops, that they had to regroup at Valley Forge for that fateful winter encampment.
Although the British had won, the Americans gained valuable insights, fighting a much more experienced enemy.
All right, this funny looking vegetable is called Cardoon. In the 18th century, everywhere available. Matter of fact, when I visited Monticello, all over the place. They're related to an artichoke, the family of artichokes. What I'm going to do really quick, I'm just going to add those ones into salt water to blanch them. This is a vegetable that most likely would have never been eaten by itself. Why? Because it's kind of bitter. And so what happens is, many of the recipes would call for a cheese sauce or a cream sauce or fried. Fried was allowed, beer better fried. Now what you want to do with this, if you should get it, basically you cut a piece and you peel the outer edge off and the back edge, depending, because this is really tough to eat. Now it's bitter by itself, but with the cheese sauce on it, it is beautiful. There you go. Right. It is an interesting vegetable that, like I said, it might be hard to find nowadays now. So you go like so. The end you want to peel off just like so, slight trim. And in the water it goes. The one thing about the Cardoon, it cooks very, very, very quick. You saw me putting it in, literally a couple of minutes and done. It's, like I said, it has a unique flavor. Fromage means translated with cheese. It's basically a cheese sauce. And what we do is we take a bechamel as a ground sauce, and all I'm going to do right now, put a little bit of butter in my spider, a little bit of butter. And I found that the onion, sweat a little onion down, it gets a unique flavor. Onion and some chives. Let's put this in the pot here. I have heavy cream. All right, heavy cream. Our 20-year-old sauce flavor. White pepper and salt. The cheese I'm using today is a Gruyere. It's obviously a very unique cheese, but it works for this extremely well. You're just going to grate it up a little bit. Throw it in the mixture right now. Take the Cardoon, which is right behind me, and take them out of the blanching liquid. And just add them into the sauce. And now all we're going to do is bring it back and serve it up. The way we serve this in Europe is just kind of like setting it up like so. And what's nice about this cheese, it makes it nice and stringy. So you have beautiful cheese mixture. I mean, it is a forgotten vegetable, but let me tell you something. It is a spectacular vegetable. Not something for one moment to take even lightly. It is beautiful. Get the sauce over it. A little more cheese. And again, a vegetable forgotten, but nothing can come close to a beautiful Cardoon au fromage or Cardoon with a cheese sauce. It's just spectacular and goes extremely well with the main course that I'm going to serve up next. It's late in the day, I need a drink, and Leslie is going to help me, because how do you drink out of that?
Well, they're going to be a little bit of a challenge for you, and that was the whole point. of these vessels. They're referred to as puzzle jugs. This particular one has a rhyme on it that tells us a little bit about what the use was. It says, "Here, gentlemen, come try your skill. I'll hold a wager, if you will, that you don't drink this liquor all without you spill or let some fall." It's got a hollow rim, and it has a hollow handle that goes down and actually opens way down in the bottom here.
Gotcha.
What you had to do was not only cover this hole under the handle, but cover the appropriate nozzles, and then you would drink like a straw. And you would make bets on whether you could finish the drink or not. And it can be tricky because sometimes there seem to be more holes to cover than you have
Well,
fingers.
especially if you had drank one or two, you're going to keep forgetting to cover the hole and it'd be all over the place. This one I got, but tell me, there's construction there. There's like...
Well, this is its younger cousin. This one actually tells us a lot about it. It says the name of the original owner and it has the date in the center. And if you take a peek inside, you'll see they've squished in a little tiny figure of a lion. This vessel is quite a different shape, although it is also a puzzle jug. It has a hollow belly that's in the shape of a donut. And this handle, even though it's very thin looking, again, is a hollow one that goes down to the bottom. We have that same idea of a ring around the top and 3 nozzles. So you would again have to cover particular nozzles and other holes in order to drink from it.
Oh, man, I tell you, there was a time where I want to eat something myself. This would be it. Beautiful, look at it, absolutely beautiful. Take off the leg of lamb, let it rest up for a little bit. In the meantime, I'm going to put the onion mixture. See what's nice about it, you got all the goodness of the lamb right on the bottom. You can see it, look at that. Oh yeah, it's like so. And it's right back on here for a moment. Now the lamb, a couple of ways you can do it. There's a bone running through here. So the best way to do it is, you cut it, you go through here and cut, follow down the bone. Perfectly cooked, look at it. Beautiful medium rare. We'll slice that. The garlic is put in there, so it gets the initial flavor into the meat. Lay it right on the plate like that. And the leg of lamb, boulanger, fit for a king. Even though Washington and his troops lost the Battle of Germantown, they learned a valuable lesson to use later against the British. I hope you have learned something today and you'll return for another taste of history.